Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is John, and I'm one of the pastors of H2O. And we're just doing this little Facebook Live thing to connect with everybody and keep in touch during this strange season of the coronavirus. So I'm going to give you all just a few seconds to get connected here, and I'm going to share some things with us tonight about redeeming this moment. And in case you missed it, this past Sunday we talked about our battle against anxiety. And so that talk is available there on our Facebook. And I updated some notes this morning. So if you're part of H2O, you can go, or if you haven't gotten our app yet, you can go to the App Store and download our app, H2O Church Orlando. And I've updated some notes about that talk that I gave on Sunday. One of the things that is great is that we have a licensed pastor on our staff team. And so Steve Reed is a pain at every staff meeting because we have to go into our feelings. How are you feeling? And so he did a little talk last night, in case you missed it. It was a timeline for emotion. And so his main point, or maybe my takeaway from his main point, was that anger and sadness are things that we can see in the life of Jesus. And they're things that we can handle because you experience them in a moment of time. And then they're difficult, but you can move into that, and you see Jesus move into that. Anxiety is different because anxiety or fear is usually related to the future. And when we think about those things, we enter into what Steve called the cone of uncertainty, where our brains are not wired to process the infinite number of things that could happen. And so, as Steve pointed out, the Bible invites us into anger and sadness, and yet we're told to not fear. So I would check that talk out. That was my takeaway. I hope I did not discredit Steve at all there. We put out a church email earlier today, and one of the things we've mentioned on that is a video series called The Chosen, put out by VidAngel. You can access that at vidangel.com, vidangel.com. This is an 8-part series on the life of Jesus. And I got to tell you, my wife and I have been watching this every night, and it just has wrecked me. I love the compassion and the engagement I see in Jesus Christ. And I just want to encourage you guys, if you're going to binge on anything, binge on that. All right, so tonight, redeeming this moment, I want to read to you Ephesians 5, verse 15, which says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." Paul here, as he writes, may be referring to the moral evil of the age, but I think he's also just referring to our tendency just to let our lives slip by without us even noticing it, for us to not make the best use of our time. And it's interesting, I don't quote the King James Version very often, but the King James says, redeeming the time. So if I could put this into my own words, make beautiful moments out of the moments you're given. Tonight, I tend to create some beautiful moments. I'm going to cook for my family. I'm going to work out after that. And my wife and I are going to hold hands and just read the scripture together and just see how God speaks to us. And I got to admit, I give in to the fire-breathing dragon of Netflix as well. But I just want to make the best use I can of this season that we have in our lives. So I want to encourage you guys with that also. That's what I want to talk about here for a few minutes. Certainly right now, we're all feeling a lot of stresses that we don't normally feel, whether that's economic or fear of sickness or concern over people or just feeling alone. And we want to let you know you can reach out to us, and we'd love to help any way we can. But we also have this unique opportunity. Let's say that the COVID virus, COVID-19, was wiped out 1 month from now. We have like from 5:30 to 11:30. If you do the math, that'd be 168 hours that we could do something with. Or if it lasts 3-4 months, I mean, we're talking a lot of time. And I read recently that the average American watches TV 2,737 hours per year. That's like 7 hours a day. And again, I watch Netflix also, confession. But I just think that for us, this is a unique time for us. And we have an opportunity to engage in some things. So I know for a lot of us, we entered into this season with our hearts feeling pretty harried, pretty busy, pretty distracted, maybe out of rhythm, maybe stretched too thin. Maybe we were engaged in what is referred to as relational hydroplaning, where you're just skimming over the surface. And that's what I love. When I watch the Chosen series, and when I read the Gospels and I see the life of Jesus, that's what attracts me. He is so engaged and so non-hurried in life. So I want to read you just a little bit out of this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I want to read what I wrote in here. I've read through this twice now. And so many of us as a church are reading through this. So listen. This thought has been trying to break out for months, if not years, but I've not let it. It's too dangerous, too much of a threat to the status quo. But the time has come for it to be uncaged, let loose in the wild. Here it is. What if I changed my life? I want to read to you what I wrote here in the margin. This is what I want more than anything in the world: to walk through life, to love well, to enjoy. I want to read you just a little bit more. I want to reset the metrics for success, he writes on page 7. And again, what I wrote. My rushing through life has wounded and hurt the things that are the most precious to me: my wife, my kids, my walk with Jesus, my friends. It is time for a reset. If I can love Jesus and love people well, I will have succeeded. So that's why we love that book. We can change our lives. So Jesus asked a question in Mark chapter 10, verse 51. He came up to a blind man. It's kind of funny. It cracks me up when I hear this. Came up to a blind man and he said, "What do you want me to do for you?" And that's the question I want to ask all of us, whether you're a member of H2O or just tuning in. What do you want Jesus to do for you in this season of life? What would you reset? If you could change anything about your life, what would you change? And I think the reason this question is so great is it taps into our desire. This isn't should, this is what do you want? What do you desire more than anything? And I think this is an opportunity for us to reset as a church. So let me ask these questions. What if we recalibrated the rhythm of our heart together? What if we moved into this each night and talked about how can we do this? What if we talked about how we can, what the practices are of living as an apprentice of Jesus? What if we moved into those things?